In Kubla Cubed, the surface element can be used to define proposed elevations using contour lines, break lines, and points. It is the most powerful element as any proposed terrain can be defined with the appropriate input data. You will notice the user interface for the proposed surface looks similar to that of the form for defining existing elevations. This is because existing elevations are also defined with contour lines and points. The data is separated into different sections for the different elevation feature types: outlines, contour lines, break lines, and points. Elevation features can be added manually by drawing directly on the screen. If the CAD files are available, time can be saved by adding these directly from a file.
All surfaces need outlines to define the boundary. There are different options to set the outline elevation. The first, extrapolate, takes the levels from nearby elevation features that you have defined, such as contour lines and points. The next option, to use ground levels, snaps the elevation of the outline to the underlying ground levels. After that, you can choose to define varying levels, which allows you to set individual elevations for each point along the outline, giving you maximum control. Finally, you can define a fixed level, which allows you to set a single level for the entire outline. Drawing an outline within an outline allows us to exclude internal areas from the surface. Once we have defined the surface boundary using outlines, we can then add any number of contours, break lines, and points to define the topography. Points are defined with a position and an elevation. They are the simplest elevation feature. Contour lines are defined in much the same way, with a linear path and an elevation. In addition, you can choose to close a contour line. Break lines combine the attributes of both contour lines and points, in that you define them with a linear path, but unlike contour lines, which are defined with a single level, with break lines you can define the elevations of each point along the line. These can be very useful for defining a hard edge in a surface such as the embankment running along the side of a road. When you have completed defining the topography, click OK to triangulate the surface and update the project. With all Earthworks elements in Kubla Cubed, side slopes will be generated to join the surface to the existing terrain. The batter angle of the side slopes can be adjusted depending on your design requirements. The exception to this is if outlines have been used with the Use Ground Levels option. In this case, no side slopes will be generated as the surface boundary will already meet the ground. The surface can then be offset in Z to account for construction thickness. Also, for the purposes of landscape design, a surface can be offset in X and Y. This could be useful when trying to find a position that gives you the optimal cut and fill balance.